Today marks 6 months since restaurants were first ordered to close their doors except for takeout and delivery in Massachusetts. It was originally supposed to be a 3-week hiatus, which ended up extending through early June when Governor Charlie Baker started to allow outdoor dining, with indoor dining opening up a few weeks later. And all along the way, restaurants have been stretching their creativity to the limit, coming up with innovative takeout offerings like take-and-make dishes people can put together at home, completely reorganizing interiors so customers can keep their social distance, and maximizing outdoor space wherever possible. Last week, Governor Baker promised to extend the outdoor dining season and poured more money into the state program that helps pay for things like sidewalk improvements and heaters, which make outdoor eating spaces at least possible. And Boston Mayor Marty Walsh followed up by extending outdoor dining on public land in the city until December 1st. But even with that and the PPE money some got from the federal government, this has been an incredibly hard time for restaurants. Earlier this month, the Mass Restaurant Association estimated nearly a quarter of restaurants that were open on March 1st had still not reopened. In the Boston area alone, more than 60 have already shut down permanently. But that's the glass half empty or maybe 3/4 empty view. The glass partially full view, is that an oxymoron? Shows the majority of restaurants have reopened in some form, and their owners continue to chart the course forward. Amongst them, James Beard Award-winning baker Joanne Chang and her husband Grizzly Adams. They're co-owners of Flower Bakeries and Myers+Chang, which is celebrating 13 years in business this month. Christopher Myers is the person behind the beard. Good to see you both. Thanks for joining me.
Nice to be here.
Hey,
Nice to be here.
Joanne, starting with your operation, how's Myers+Chang and how are Flower Bakeries doing 6 months in?
Well, we closed for about a month, and we slowly reopened all of the bakeries and the restaurant over the course of about a month. We took about another month, and we very, very slowly reopened. We had very limited hours. We didn't allow people to come inside at all. And at this point, we're at about 50% of where we were pre-COVID.
And, you know, the bigger picture, Christopher, a lot of people, restaurateurs in the city have worked for you at various parts of their career. I know you stay in touch with them. The other statistic I didn't mention from the Mass Restaurant Association, 23% have already shut down, or at least not reopened. Their estimation is by the end of the year, if current conditions prevail, 48%, roughly half of the restaurants, will close permanently. Is that tracking what you're hearing from your buddies?
Let's see. Well, I made some calls today to some friends. I talked to Andy Husbands in particular from Smoke Shop, and he's a sort of a grizzly old restaurant warrior like myself. And true to form, he was like, "I'm tired of people complaining about this and that," and he was terrific. He was very enthusiastic and positive, and his business is solid. He sees it moving in the right direction. I hate that number, that nearly 50%, 1 out of 2 restaurants won't be reopening. I'm not shocked by it, but it's not what I'm hearing. You never know with restaurateurs. We're a tough, whizzing bunch, and we're not inclined to share too much if it's not positive, because we're in that business of being as optimistic and shiny as possible. So I'm not really certain that everything I'm hearing is authentic, but what I'm hearing was positive.
Well, Joanne, you're smiling, so I assume you're in agreement with when Christopher is saying what he's saying. But what is that? Then forget the owners and the chefs for a moment. What's the psyche? What's the mood of the workers who have been through hell throughout this whole thing?
I was just going to say that I think I was smiling because I know that I speak for me and for Christopher and for Andy and for, pretty much every other restaurant owner that we know, that we will work, day in, day out. We will cook, we will serve, we will
smile our way through it.
Yeah, we'll make it work. But to your point, I don't know if we're going to do it with staff. I mean, we hope to. We've brought back at this point about 50 to 60% of our staff, and we would like to continue to. And we would like to continue to see business strong enough so that we can continue to employ who we have. But I think every restaurateur is worried about being able to pay their staff, along with paying rent and everything else.
And what are their heads like? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was on the Zachem Bridge. I was on the Zachem Bridge today, and I was heading towards the Garden, and there was some road rage going on. The traffic was abominable, and Michael Bublé is coming to town, and I just thought, what pandemic? Do you know what I mean? But
you get me tickets to that?
I did not get you tickets to that. But when we talk to our managers, and in particular our director of ops, who's constantly in communication with staff and all the personnel, he's like, people are brittle.
Yeah.
And
very sensitive.
Very sensitive. And you always try and identify, even if they're 40-something years younger than you, which in my case, many of our employees are. And I just think, I can't imagine. Everybody has this feeling about California. You know what I mean? For me, it was always that place I was going to end up. I was out there at 18. I swore I was going to get back at some point. But that literal dream fantasy is going up in flames. You know what I mean? So these kids are scared. They're scared about climate change. They're scared about the election, and they're scared about holding down their jobs, particularly in our sector of the industry where business is brittle. I mean, I don't know if that.
And their government, let me add one thing to your list. You don't need to be in the restaurant business to know their government has abandoned them. You know, there are 2 huge restaurant relief bills lying there in front of Congress, as the likelihood is neither gets action. On a smaller front, I mentioned when I was introducing you to the mayor's extended outdoor dining on public space. I know you have limited capacity there to December 1st. There's a bill, maybe it'll go somewhere on Beacon Hill, that would cap these usurious delivery fees at 15%. Is that just nibbling around the edges, or is that like serious help kind of thing? Either of you. Joanne,
everything. Everything helps.
Everything helps. Do we want to be in the grocery business? Not really. Do you know what I mean? But we're going to provide as much of a grocery selection as we possibly can because we have to. So I think it's all contributing to upping our revenue.
Yeah.
Staying in the game.
I think the fact that they extended outdoor dining, I really think that every restaurateur just assumed that they would, because that would have been, it would have destroyed every business right now. Like, we're all trying to make any money we can now while we can have people outside, knowing that, they could extend it forever, but in December, nobody's sitting outside.
To give you a sense of just how ridiculous it is. I mean, it's not ridiculous. I love that the hours are extended, but we're in the middle. We're in the middle of a Little League park. You know what I mean? That's our outdoor dining. So it's not what it needs to be, but it's what it has to be right now for us to hold on.
I only have a minute left, and I don't want to upset Andy Husbands or either of you two who are putting a very.
We're busy too. We only have 30 seconds left.
How do you get up in the morning not knowing when this nightmare is going to end? I mean, it's not just you. I don't mean, but I'm talking to you too. It'd be one thing if they said on December 1st it's over. You just got a plan to get through the next X number of months. How do you do this every single day when you don't know what's happening?
I haven't woken up in the last 6 months. I just woke up.
No, here's the thing. I mean, I actually think in some ways we're fortunate, and I know our staffs feel the same way. We provide an essential service. Everybody has to eat. And so I think we wake up, crossing our fingers that in the wintertime, people will still continue to order takeout and come see us, even though they can't come sit down. And so that's what we're holding on to hope.
Yeah.
You have a final thought, Christopher? I'm afraid to ask.
I think the industry is doing as well as it can because it's a really tough, crusty bunch that populates the restaurant business. I know we're all smiles and charisma, et cetera, but it's, at the end of the day, it's a pretty tenacious gathering of people, and I think that we're going to keep pushing as long and as far as we possibly can.
We have to.
You two are a pretty great brunch yourselves. Christopher Myers, Joanne Chang, great to see you both. Good luck to you and all of your colleagues. And everybody at home, order takeout, order delivery, go in their restaurants, eat outside, help them survive.